See you on the highway then.
Okay, I will call this meeting of the Durham Board of Selectmen on July 12th, 2022 to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, all 5 board members are present. Amendments to the agenda. I have one. We're gonna, before we do public comment, we're gonna have the chief come up for a presentation, but any other amendments to the agenda?
BYOB application, and just a reminder, oath of office for the newest part-time counter person.
I thought that was on the minutes from last week, so was that not done last meeting?
Thought we did it.
I thought we did it.
It's in the minutes as having been done.
Okay,
But we still have a BYOB application?
Yes.
All right, that'll be 7D. Hey, anything else? Okay. Chief Tripp has a presentation that he'd like to make, so I'll have him.
Yeah, if I could have Nick and Noah and the fire department. Good evening. Thank you for the time, by the way. Appreciate that. Being the eyes and ears of the select board, it's sometimes my duty to inform you of extraordinary events. And members of your department are extraordinary, and they pull off extraordinary events every day. And they do it with such frequency that extraordinary is now common. It really is. What's not common is Noah Larrabee and Nick Weber, who have been for the last 6 months going to firefighter 1-2. That's 2 times a week, it's 10 Saturdays, it's 6 months, it's countless hours of non-pay dedication, studying, and time at the firehouse, which makes us better because they ask me how to tie a knot. I gotta look it up when they're not looking, and then go show them how to tie a knot, but it makes us all better. And tonight, they get helmet fronts. Tonight, the Larrabee's 4th generation, and his dad, CJ, is gonna give a helmet front with a number to his son, Noah. So we're gonna take the P off of it for probationary, and tonight they are legitimately firefighters and EMTs. And nothing makes a chief prouder or a dad. So if you can rip the P off of that, I'd appreciate it. Now that's just Velcro, that can go back on, so. Always got a reminder, I'll take that. Sir, can I have yours? Squad 52 on the emblems. Also being your eyes and ears, what you don't see, and I'm privileged to, is 9 o'clock at night this week at the KOA, these 2 gentlemen taking care of a cardiac event from a visitor. And the other night at a accident scene, taking care of a patient. And the other morning at 1:30 in the morning with me till 6, babysitting Brunswick Fire Station, running calls as they had their fire. And coming in for Lisbon over the weekend and washing and waxing the truck and representing us in our town, covering them. So every day they make a difference, and they deserve it. And they deserve to be recognized. And I appreciate it. So you may now call them firefighters.
Great. Congratulations. So just on behalf of the board, just thank you for your willingness to serve the community and to step up. Durham is very, very fortunate with our fire department. A lot of communities have quite honestly struggled with, numbers and dedication and response and everything from their fire and rescue, but that has not been an issue in Durham. Thanks to the people involved and their dedication and their leadership. So on behalf of the board, thank you very much.
Thank you. You can see it's a testament to these gentlemen, just guys that want to come out, men and women of the department, just to represent and back them up. So with that being said, I know we're going to get a call, so.
what was Nick's last name, please?
What's that?
Nick's last name?
Weber.
Weber.
2 B's.
Yeah.
Thank you. Select Chair.
Thank you.
Any questions on our recent structure fire? You didn't know, I know.
Yeah, I read about that earlier.
Small kitchen fire, grease fire, put out our assistant chief, most of the dark hose, put out the rest.
Yeah.
No injuries.
And it wasn't, I think I read in the article, it wasn't the primary living location of, so nobody's like homeless because of it, or, okay,
That was,
All the insurance claims.
okay,
Thank you,
I-
Chairman.
all right.
and I wanted to note, I happened to be a scanner buff, and I was listening to the whole call. Those engines were there 2-3 minutes, maybe. Everybody was out of the station. It was
We
amazing.
had all of them out, 16 guys, all of them out.
Yep. Yeah, that was.
That's again a testament to those guys.
Yeah. They were right on it, spot on it. Good.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank
thanks,
you.
Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
Okay, I don't see anybody that might be here for public comment unless they're lingering out in the lobby, but,
Want me to go check?
yeah, but just to be safe, just to be sure.
Call.
Yeah, right.
Ask all. It's gone, it's gone. Whisper.
Thank you, Devin. We forget that sometimes. Yeah, I like leaving the windows open, though.
Yeah, it's much nicer.
Amazing. One second there's a
citizens
breeze,
to
next
make
minute it feels
comments.
like there's heat coming down.
Oh, I know,
Yeah.
I know.
Okay, I don't know if we still have, it doesn't sound like we have a separate report for fire and EMS.
Correct.
And Rose, do we have a separate report for Calvin?
Here.
Nope, okay, no news is good news.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, great, thank you. And what, was Calvin out there, or?
I didn't see him.
I didn't see him either. I didn't see him pull in. I say, my truck's red too, so.
Oh, that's good, my poor dog right now is home alone, cowered next to the bathtub, I'm sure.
May I suggest, Mr. Chairman, if Calvin does come in, we give him that opportunity, but I thought I saw his truck.
Snooze, you lose, man.
Yep, I think, unless, yeah, I mean, I think unless he's got
Proud
something
tonight.
urgent, we're gonna move on. All right, so we're past public comment, and we're past the fire and road commissioners report, so that brings us to the town manager's report.
Very quick. I've been working a little bit on reviewing the Xfinity, not Xfinity, I'm sorry, the Comcast contract. I did check, MMA does not provide representation at all, and I haven't found any groups that have coalesced to be able to negotiate. And I suspect that there's very narrow areas for which we can negotiate, but while I'm here, I will certainly keep you abreast and of the elements, because first time out, they usually lay on the table what they're looking for, and then I will bring it back to you.
Yeah, I think what we'd probably want to be on the lookout for is any language that's significantly different than the current contract. Like if they're looking to make any significant changes, and if so, then we might need to dig a little bit deeper into those to
Absolutely.
see if it's a big deal. Because I know there is a lot of stuff going on nationally and even state-wise about franchise fees and things of that sort. So we'll just have to keep our eye on that. So,
I'm dry. You want those closed?
I just don't leave them open. Just a little water.
Good couple, 4 or 5 coats of paint on it.
I'm working on a tan, and we're fortunate that monies are coming in, but I'm still working on the tan based on the authorization you provided. And I'm also working with the ladies in the front. We've gotten one specific quote for payroll services, just to see what that factor is, what it entails, and is it cost effective?
Yeah.
But we've got that in the works as well.
And again, as you look into that, because we've looked at this in the past and it's a different town staff now, but what we heard, I don't know, a couple of years ago was that because of the trio system, that they ended up having to enter everything anyway, even with a payroll service, so, but I know in talking to a provider who does municipalities that have the trio system, that there's Still a lot of benefits to using the payroll service, so.
Clearly. And I am in no position to make a recommendation tonight,
Right.
just keeping you informed.
Okay.
Beyond that, as we go through, we'll discuss some of the other issues, special town meeting possibility, things of that nature.
Okay. Okay, then we'll move into old business, 6A, certificate of
These are
assessments.
signatured items that we need to make sure you sign before you leave tonight.
Oh, they're in this, oh, here.
Yes,
right.
you've got a whole slew of sign-offs.
And this is related to, this is the last meeting where you set the mill
That is
rate and
correct.
all that, right?
That was all approved, but we didn't get to sign off on all of those, so I'm asking that you do that tonight.
This is just for the chair to sign, right? We signed them last week.
This one has 5 blank.
Yeah, I've got the originals and we've got the blanks that go
I was
with
gonna say,
it.
it was the original signed, and then we just need another formal copy of original, is that what this is?
These are the breakouts between county, local municipality, TIFs we don't have, and then the balance. So I brought them all back so we can get them all signed. I can then send them where they belong.
We did.
You also have your payables and your
Okay,
warrant
so we'll
article.
do that. It'll be part
Yes.
of the signature fest at the end. Okay.
And the declaration ratio is important too.
That's the same thing, though? That's a signature thing?
Mitch, just out of curiosity, how is this different than we signed last week?
I think these are the originals that were given to me, and I may not have given you the originals. That's all my concern is. So I'm duplicating just to make sure.
Okay.
Other than that, there would be no difference at all.
Okay.
The numbers are still the same. There's no change in the numbers.
That's really what the
Yeah,
hang-up
we,
is.
yeah.
Adding another signature is no big deal, I just wanted nothing to change.
No change in the
Nothing
numbers.
changed.
Okay,
No.
we thought we were all signed up and that passed
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
and went around the board.
Yeah, okay. All right, so that takes care of 6A and B. We'll just sign those tonight. 6C is flag displays.
Where are we, how the board left it, well, you weren't here, was, Keith Russell came in and asked if the town had any monies available, because a lot of the flags, we needed a couple of more, and some of them were decrepit and so forth, and we kind of, for lack of better words, challenged him to maybe seek the public first, and then maybe we could empty out a coffee can out back or something if one was available. And the way I understood it is the town basically, showed up, and, they showed
Yeah.
us,
By the time we got home from the meeting, they showed up.
I think you get some credit for this too, right?
So, yeah, I did get caught up a little bit on that. So, has the money actually been collected, or was
We are
it
sitting on the checks.
pledged?
No, we are sitting on the checks.
That made out to the town?
Yes.
So when I saw that whole thing going,
That was my question.
yeah, you know where I'm going. Like, are we even authorized to accept and then spend that money without a town vote?
That becomes a very good point, and it gets to the second part of that.
Yeah.
But in all fairness, it's not unusual, but it's also not unusual for groups of yourself who've had that collection to turn around and say, we'd rather have the donors make the checks out to the private nonprofit organization that is going to handle this going forward.
But people have already written their checks, right?
And we're gonna have a town meeting in a month or so, right?
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna talk about that, yeah, presumably.
Yeah, my question, and it was more of a sidebar between Todd and I, is whether or not the town could do that, and B, it was Keith that brought it up, whether or not we could maybe write the checks out to the VFW, and they would keep the money in maybe an account, and they would write the checks it's like somewhat of a nonprofit that the townspeople are writing to, or via the fire departments, maybe because they're a volunteer group, I know they have a separate, that's not necessarily affiliated with the town.
Yeah, right.
And they could keep that money in escrows and have, maybe if there's a fund balance that exceeds what they needed, that they'll have for the next year and the years to come whenever they needed a replacement flag. I didn't think it should have went to the town.
It happened in
I
less
know,
than
it happened,
24
yeah.
hours.
Yeah, the other question I think we had was there anything left in the Memorial Day Fund, which is where this was probably funded from before? And was there still an account for that, which there was a thought that you could roll it?
I
into
don't know
that?
the answer to that. I don't
I'd have to
recall
do the
though.
research. I came in the next day and then realized that this may take its place, but I did not do the research.
I think I think there's two questions here. I think if the flag expense in the past came out of Memorial Day Fund, which I don't know if it just came out of that or if it just came out of Public Works, quite honestly. Like, can we take those checks and simply deposit and debit or credit the Memorial Day Fund and then use those funds to buy flags? I mean, and the other thing is like, you know what, part of me, I mean, I know we're being recorded, but it's kind of, this is one of those things like, just ask for forgiveness later. You know?
Nobody's gonna be too
Right?
upset about us buying
Is this,
Yeah,
is this something that
exactly.
needs to happen now?
Well, we got a
I guess-
dozen checks. It's all
Yeah,
like-
you
Well, no, I mean, do the flag,
From the
do the
money
flags?
standpoint, yes, because they were holding the price, if my memory serves me right on the meeting,
You're
for
right,
30
yeah.
days.
Yeah.
You're right.
That's right here.
So
Right.
what I would,
It's not gonna hold
And
it
it's
forever.
volatile.
Yeah, and then we can set something up for next year.
Yeah.
You know, if you did the beg for
My
forgiveness
thing with the
route,
Memorial
and
Day
then-
Fund was,
and then
I
set
thought we
something
could
up through a
dissolve
nonprofit.
everything and made it into a general fund, like we got rid of a lot of those smaller.
we did, but
At
I
least we
don't,
thought we were doing
but
that. whether or
I
not we're
didn't
not.
think Memorial Day Fund was one of them. I didn't,
Okay.
I thought we kept that one.
'Cause I thought we mentioned that there was some, like $1,000-something
Left
in the
there.
Memorial Day Fund just recently.
Yeah.
Town
Well, the
meeting.
chart of accounts should show that, you know, and, actually, I can,
I think that you hit the policy questions, but let me elaborate, if I may, a little bit more. It's great that the citizenry stepped up to the plate. Phenomenal, really. The real question is it appropriate, when you've started talking about that the town manage and administer those funds? Or should it really be separate from the town and a coordination with the town in the future? Because who's ultimately going to put the flags up, take them down, and store them, as well as replace them as needed?
see, that's why I actually think it should be a town thing, and I think it's Public Works should be putting those flags up and down every year, and probably in the long term, it should be part of the Public Works budget.
No argument, but I want you to have that discussion. Because if it is, all the more reason why you should have approval to accept funds and appropriate them for the purposes in which they were intended.
Well, then, I think I'm gonna move that we accept the donated funds that, from citizen checks for, flags, American flags, and that, that money, be, deposited into the Memorial Day Parade account and then be expended from that account to purchase flags, as needed.
And I don't believe
Joe,
that.
hold
I
on.
think-
Is that a second?
As a second.
Okay,
Yeah,
Joe,
I'll
so now we
second
can
that.
have a discussion and then
Yeah.
vote or not
Yeah.
vote or whatever. So,
Let me get a
I don't think Keith minds putting up flags. I don't think we need to pay anybody by the hour to put up flags. I don't think
Well,
Keith,
it's,
minds.
okay, I mean, who's done it in the past?
Keith. It's always been
Keith's
Oh, it hasn't been a public
always
works.
been Keith.
I think we had a question of how he was doing it. Was he using?
He might use the fire department stuff. That's why my
Yeah,
brain
that
got
was
wrapped
the-
around the fire department being
Yeah, we
it's
get
kind
all
of a
these
separate
questions over the
entity,
other day.
quasi government corporation of whatever they are as far as their, where they would retain the money because we accept the money, we authorize to spend the money, what do we do with the overage? If there is an overage, does it go into an escrow simply for flags? I mean, that
Yeah.
has to be very specific how we lay that out.
I'll
Because-
specify it for flags, so.
Well, is it just for yeah, but it's going to the Memorial Day Fund, so can the
Yeah.
Memorial Day Fund only use it on flags? I mean, you have to, it's very specific.
Yeah.
If we had exactly the amount from the town of what that is written for, then so be it, make it, go by, write the check, but I'm assuming, based on the numbers, there's a little bit of overture.
Yeah.
Who seconded, please?
Joe?
Thank you.
But if it's in, so, and you, you're probably right, there may be, but I think if the overage remains in the Memorial Day, parade account, then I think it's still for the intended purpose that people made those contributions,
Yeah.
right?
Right, as long, I'm fine with it as long as the money is used for flags. I think if you bought something for the Memorial Day Parade, like candy for the select board to pass out or something like that, that's where I think people could maybe
Right.
And I'm not saying it's justified for them to get upset.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
just
yeah.
saying, if it's not specifically used for flags, I think it has to be earmarked specifically for flags if we accept the money.
Yeah. So I'm gonna withdraw my motion, because I think it needs to be cleaned up. Will you withdraw your second?
Yep.
Okay, all right. So it's not, we're not saying it's a public works thing, so, I mean, I'm trying to avoid overcomplicating this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, people donated money for flags, let's just go buy some damn flags. Right?
Doesn't need to be any.
Right.
Yeah.
Who's got the, now, I noticed in the packet somewhere, there was a bid or an estimate for the flags. Who got that? Did Keith get that?
Yeah.
You got that, yeah.
Mean that?
Yeah. But the checks are made out to the town of Durham?
Yes.
That's the problem.
And do we have a balance that's greater than
Yeah.
that amount?
Do we know what the balance of the total of the checks was?
I think it's almost close to it. Anything that is lacking would come from, I think, the intent, your memorial fund. So we're mixing apples and oranges all the way through, and if we go ahead and make the expenditure without the authorization, I think you run afoul of your appropriation issue.
Yeah, I just don't wanna commingle money that is basically brought in by charity
Sure.
with,
Right.
with something official for the town. That's all.
Businesses get the deduction, and if it's not a
And-
501c3, the citizens are just doing it out of
Right.
goodness of their heart.
That's why I was thinking
Just
with the
gotta keep
town
moving.
or the VFW or something of that nature, and
But if the checks are already made out to the
That's the
town of
problem.
Durham, I mean,
But we know who made the checks out, so we can effectively turn around and ask the individuals who made those checks to come back in once you've decided where that best is going to be managed.
how many checks are we talking about?
Can't be more than a dozen.
I still gotta write mine, cause I wasn't sure, cause I left it, brought it off the last time, like, how do we know we can write this money to the town?
I think that it's not ready for prime time. We ought to acknowledge the fact that you're still deliberating on where that's best located, but in this case, I think people responded because it was the town leadership that wanted that to happen. They assumed it would be the town all the way through.
That's fine.
I think most people assume it's the town doing it, and,
Yeah.
Would
I
you-
think, and part of me thinking, well, just eat, and we may not wanna do it in future years this way, but at least for this year, because we have the checks and they're made out to the town of Durham, I guess I'm going back to, the town accepts the money, and we just, whatever the total for the checks are, and we, work it out with Keith for him to use those funds to go get the flags.
I was gonna say, if the town's collecting the money, they should just invoice the town and the town pay the bill.
Yeah, you
And
could do
is
that
this one of
too.
this-
Yeah.
These instances where you're asking for forgiveness?
Well,
And
Oh,
isn't this a
yeah,
conversation
awful
we've
ones.
had in executive session with this other stuff we've been doing about one of the questions that we all found important in asking candidates for the open position was,
Well, I
would
don't-
you?
This isn't a legal issue, this is just more
Yeah,
of a.
Well,
this
no, but it's the.
We're not breaking any laws by,
Right.
I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is, you know, we placed an importance on this, and I want this done as much as anybody else, but we placed such an importance on that concept in this other area, and now we're saying, well, it means so much if this person does it, but we're okay bending the rules, in this case, for something that we find important, and I feel like that's a double standard that
I
I
guess
frankly,
I just
I
don't look
wouldn't
at it that
support.
way. I don't look at this as anybody trying to cross or circumnavigate a law. It's just how we appropriate the funds correctively. It's not necessarily how we circumnavigate by doing it legally or illegally. It's just, so I don't see how that's even remotely the same, but that's just me.
Mr. Chairman, would it be satisfactory to all of you, since checks are good for 60 to 90 days, I'll research further. I'll also contact fire and rescue and see if they have a fund that they deal with that is not part of the appropriation process. I'll also contact AMVETS and see if they have a willingness to maybe participate, and we'll set up a collaboration. Presuming that is presented to you, the way I see it working is the person or the entity that is then in control of the monies for the purpose in which they were intended, and the individual who does the volunteer work would coordinate each year to do what they need to do.
Yeah, I think it's worth doing that, but one other thing I might add to that is, there's nothing that says we can't create a flag fund, a town flag fund.
Right.
Nothing
Right?
stops you.
And we could take those checks and put them in the town flag fund. And then expend, then the question becomes though, are we authorized to expend the money from the flag fund? But you could, I think you could argue that, since this wasn't a involuntary taxation, but a voluntary donation, that we have expressed approval to spend the money for that purpose.
You're an intermediary, you're not spending townspeople's taxes.
Right, that's what I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I mean. So you're basically,
I think the sooner we have those flags up, the more willingness you're gonna see to get donations to this type of thing again. Because
Will two,
obviously, they'd like to see this town painted in black, red, white, and blue.
would 2 weeks make a difference in your
Yes.
decision?
Yes, it would.
Only because of misquote, I mean, at the end of the day.
It's a short summer.
okay, so
Yeah,
who's
we
got
take
a,
'em down.
who's got a proposed solution?
Put them in a flag fund, we expend the money.
Why don't we put them in the selectmen's
invoice.
fund? They're authorized to spend all that.
Do we have a selectmen's fund?
Discretionary fund?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're authorized to spend out of it. I don't know how I feel about putting the donations into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right, since you've skirted the issue as was pointed out, what happens if you authorize your tax raised and appropriated funds to buy the flags and accept the reimbursement as a donation?
Once it gets it done.
I hate to look at it as a shell game, but
That's what it is.
That's
though.
what it
It's
is.
not a game, it's just,
it's just that
It's just a technical,
Got donations.
I am concerned that whatever you establish is flexible enough to continue to function properly
Yeah.
and not be subject to criticism, which overshadows the whole purpose.
yeah, but I'm not worried about whatever we do this year, establish the process for future years. I think we're just, at this point, because the next time we would be out in front of it enough to, or have something set up in order to, handle something like this, but, so, I don't know why that wouldn't work, like we could certainly, out of the, whether it's Public Works or whatever, do it out of the Public Works budget to purchase the flags, use the donations to credit back to Public Works, and the note on the credit to the account is donations for, purchase of flags. And as long as you've got an invoice and the donations that are jiving with each other, then we should be good.
wasn't there a time, and I know it's kind of different, but wasn't there a time where we could accept like, funds for home heating and grant funds and stuff like that, that the town has people could donate money? Not necessarily a giving tree, but it was given specifically to the town if somebody was in need.
And you didn't have to go back to authorize the sale or the purchase?
But it was, I'm talking probably 4 years ago, I don't remember.
I don't remember that,
I
maybe.
thought somebody
Heating
donated some money for
assistance thing.
heating oil assistance or something like that every year, cause we were, and even, I can't remember specifically what it was, and I'm sure if Ruth was here, she could, yeah, we would put it in the next count.
We need, but we need to figure this out because, we need to figure out how to accept donations and then allocate them in general, because remember, we had a gentleman step forward who said, I would have donated like a
Yes.
substantial amount of money to the scholarship fund,
Right.
for instance.
Right.
And I'm not sure we would even know how to take that money. But if, but I think if does anybody see a reason why it wouldn't be perfectly legit to, on Mitch's suggestion, to basically just go ahead and pay for the flags, basically, you know, even if you have to buy an extra couple of flags, use all the donation money. Use like whatever was donated, use it, right? So, and then we have the invoice so that all that donation money was applied to flags or the hardware to hang them, you know, whatever. And you can show the money going out and you can show the money coming in for that purpose that people
If you
donate.
make that a motion, I'm instructed to follow it, but do you want me to also touch base with our town attorney to get that opinion? Or just do it?
Well, no, I think we could put the motion to, you know, subject to review with the town attorney. Yeah. So, but I was just putting that out to the board. Josh, what are your thoughts on that?
If you're asking for forgiveness, I'm not gonna support it. I support
No,
the idea.
I'm not asking for
Well,
forgiveness.
but that's essentially what we're doing, right?
Well, what's
If-
your solution then?
Well, I don't have one. And I think the solution is we have to wait. We weren't prepared for this as we should have been. But if that's, I'm going to abstain. I would vote against it, but for what the purpose of it is.
You don't want to vote against the flag,
So,
right? Yeah.
Because the idea is great. We've made the issue in other context, and now we're raising something similar. And to me, it's, if you're asking for forgiveness,
But, yeah, I think that phrase did come up, and I think in other scenarios we may have been doing that, but I don't think that's the case now. I think I think what's being proposed is a perfectly appropriate, legitimate way, and it's going to be subject to review with the town attorney. And if the town attorney comes back and says, "Yeah, I know you really can't do that," then we don't do it.
Hey, Mitch, you said there was 12 and 12 people approximately that wrote checks,
Good.
give or take, 12 to
Yeah.
15 people. Let's just call the people up and have them write that check out to the flag store, and whatever difference is, we'll figure out. We can call me or Todd, and we'll get the remaining balance done for you. Let's just go that route. And we don't have to involve town attorneys. We don't have to ask permission. We don't have to forgive for permission. And this is as clean can be.
Is that
However you instruct, I will try to follow.
I mean, if it's only 12, I could see if we had like
$125
checks
checks
all over the place, but I don't think that's the case.
I also agree with the longer-term view. This may be the start of something good, and we ought to make sure it's a solid foundation.
Yeah, we can do our due diligence going on, but being that quote, for lack of better words, and I know it's not really time is of the essence, but they did give a quote and said they specifically said it was only good for X amount of time, and that was 2 weeks ago, and to wait another 2 weeks for a board to convene,
Yeah.
and we're not gonna have a special meeting to convene over this, I wouldn't assume, so I think that's probably the easiest and cleanest, and nobody's gonna feel like we skirted a system or anything of that nature.
I don't understand why we can't put them in the Memorial Day Fund and do, I don't know, it's gonna be hard. We've only got 6 or 7 weeks so we can fly flags. And we're gonna take up 2 or 3 weeks trying to get everybody to make out new checks.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, Todd, but at the end of the day, we do have to do this in a way that,
Right.
doesn't get the town in hot water.
I don't see how it could.
Wasn't there a warrant article that was approved authorizing you as a board to accept,
Yes, we can accept a grant, and it's the same thing, basically.
if that's what for the purpose in which they were intended? If that's the case, then that warrant article legitimately covers
Yeah, that's a good point.
what we're talking about.
I just think,
It would be towards the end of the numbers before they got to the last.
Well, the article, I think it would be a stretch to apply the article, because the article specifically refers to grants,
Okay.
you know.
Okay.
All right.
Like I said, it's only 12, 15 people. Yeah, it's trying to get the job done.
I'll ask the ladies to do that over the next few days.
Yeah, and just,
we'll do it. We'll ask the girls to do it. We'll get on Facebook, we'll get it done, but it's gonna take, I don't know. Maybe I can get Corey
Don't do it for, if it, don't do it for my benefit.
Yeah, we've only
I
got,
don't-
like I said, we've only got 6 or 7
I think when
weeks.
it is, kind
to
it's
fly
not
flags.
necessarily for your benefit, Josh, but as a
It isn't.
board, we try to be, on something like this, you wanna be, but you wanna be together on something
But
like that. You don't wanna-
there's a lot of things we don't know and that we're supposing, but there's one thing that we definitely know, that the people that wrote those checks want us to buy flags.
Right.
So if we take that money and we buy flags, I don't see an issue if we have to,
I
Yeah.
agree.
you
I
know,
agree.
run the money
If they,
through a town account, then I don't think, you know, and it's a clear paper trail. There's nothing, you know, deceptive about it. And I think it basically accomplishes what people wrote those checks for.
yeah.
I think just the fact that we have to deliberate this long on buying American flags
Right?
for a town in the United States of America just shows you how great this process is. I think that's people feeling, whether, you know, they're patriotic, they write a flag, and then, you know, we're looking at, possibly breaking a law or something, or we bring that mention up, you know, it's just, I don't know.
Todd, do you want to make, do you have or does anybody have a motion?
I'd make a motion that we accept the donations for flags and expend it as intended. For flags and get them up on the poles as soon as possible.
That's at the hands of the volunteer.
Yeah.
We're not doing it.
Is that specific enough?
Flags and holders.
Yeah.
All right. Was there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
All right, Rich second. So the motion is, doesn't specify how. I guess we leave that like to the discretion of town staff on how to account, how the accounting would work. And you can certainly consult with the town attorney or our auditors if you want on how to account for that. But I think the objective is, the motion is to accept the donations and use the funds to purchase the flags and associated supplies ASAP.
As intended.
As intended.
That's intended.
As intended. Okay? Any further discussion on that? All right. All in favor of the motion? Opposed? And we have one abstention, so motion passes 4-0. Oops. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Okay.
Can we go backwards now that
Do we know?
Do
We
we have
gotta
a
keep
road
going.
commissioner
We-
report? Nope.
No,
We're all
I
set.
think we're good. 6D, Old Town Hall roof replacement quotes. I think we have 2 quotes, is that right? That's what I saw?
Yeah. To be honest, I haven't got any more so far.
What's that now?
I haven't gotten any more so far.
Are you expecting any more, do you know?
Well, I haven't asked anybody else, so I haven't been busy. I did talk to one of the historic commission, and they feel that it should be either the original color of that roof, but that color will be in black and white, or the present color of the roof. I was only asking, what would you favor? And since it's on the historic, it's a historic building, it's designated register. It says that it should be either the original color of the roof when it was built, or the present color.
Does anybody know what the original color was when it was
That's
built?
what I'm saying. It's
Well, I
probably
guess-
in a black and white photo right there.
I know, but Todd, why don't we just get a swatch of whatever, you know, ICO provides? I mean, we can't have custom shingles made for a roof and have the historic
Well,
district pick which one they want.
No, there's only like six colors available anyway. right now, so.
I mean, are the colors that that are in the bid here, well, actually, color of choice is what this one says.
Swash that, like-
I mean, they're all gonna be some form of charcoal or black, aren't they? I mean, we're not picking green or brown, right?
Or tan.
The one that's on there is kind of a whitish green color, I never liked it.
But is that available?
That would make it easier.
Is that a
because
faded
Huh?
color? Do you think the color faded from the original?
Not so much.
Okay.
It's kind of a mix of white and green, kind of. It's a no-tab shingle. It certainly isn't what was on there.
It's a what? It's a no-tab
It's a
shingle.
no-tab shingle.
And then both of these bids are calling for architectural shingles,
That's all anybody will put on anymore.
right?
But it was probably cedar shingle when it was built.
Right.
So what do we do now?
I think you pick gray or black or whatever.
And ask
is
for
in there.
forgiveness?
No, I don't think this is a forgiveness. I
Certainty.
think-
Waiting for that.
I think this is not you. It's one of those. It's kind of like the Eureka Center. There, you have an emergent situation arise, and we're in a situation where the supply chain is in flux, and black on a white building or gray on a white building is not. You know, it is what it is. It's better
Right.
than having a 2.5 foot hole through a building.
Yeah.
Have
Well,
it leaking.
The hole has been repaired, but they said, I think probably says there it's,
I don't have a problem if they want to go to Home Depot or wherever these shingles are coming from and pick from the ICO, if you want to leave that up to them, but I mean,
yeah.
Or this guy, I will say, Jack's Property Service, I don't know if you guys picked up on this, but his bid's a little bit more money, but his bid includes 7/16 OSB sheeting over the entire roof, whereas the other bid just basically says damaged or rotten wood to be assessed when shingles are removed.
it's a big difference.
That's a huge difference.
That's a huge difference.
I can put my fingers right between the boards.
So,
Calvin, what's on that? Do you know?
Boards.
Iron boards.
No, as far as like the shingle color material up there,
It's
is it asphalt?
From underneath was black.
It's a whitish green.
well, they're all black on the bottom.
You're not really supposed to see the bottom though.
Yeah, right.
You get gaps in the boards.
It's a whitish green no-tab shingle that was put on there. I thought I knew who put it on. It's not the case. I don't know.
All right, so what's the next step here? It sounds like it's not, the hole's been repaired, so it's, is it repaired and is the roof in good enough shape to like make it through the winter, or are we talking about we need to do something before the winter?
Bob Scammon thought that we probably should do something before the winter.
Well, of course he does. He's a contractor. He wants to do a roof.
Well,
And that's not an insult on him specifically. Any contractor's gonna say that.
he's trying to be honest about it.
Doesn't have to do an RFQ, RFP. For purchasing.
Well, again, we have a procedure of requesting quotes based on
Yeah, this isn't really an RFP thing.
RFQ more than anything.
Yep.
But let me ask a policy question of you, and you can dodge it by saying that's not for subject tonight. Buildings in general have their own history.
It's not the subject for tonight. I know where you're going. It's not the subject for tonight,
Okay.
yeah.
That's a long subject.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
I
I
might not
plan
be
to
in
be
this
here
board
for
by
the.
then.
Yeah, me neither, baby. If I were you, I would not bite that one off while you're here. Just let that one leave.
I'd agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
Like I said before, we'll probably take this one down before we
Hey,
take that one
here's
down.
here's my only question: do we have the monies to do this?
I'd have to go back and check the funds specifically to see what monies are in
This
there.
would be funded probably out of the municipal building capital account.
Well, there is a fund for that building.
Oh, specifically for that building?
$60-some odd thousand
Oh, that's
dollars in
right.
it.
We didn't combine, we left that one separate?
And do we have to have the any other input from any other committees to spend that money?
No.
Okay.
Not out of capital. Once money's been appropriated and approved by voters to go into a capital account, the board can authorize its expenditure as long as it's being spent on what it
Well,
was authorized to go in there.
We used it out of that account to repair the
The
backside
foundation
of it.
Right, so we need
Some
to,
excavation work,
so we
right?
need to see what's in there. So,
So we could actually get.
So should the motion be contingent upon that?
are we even ready for a motion at this point?
Should we get another couple of quotes?
Well, we
I don't
like
think it
usually.
would hurt to get a couple more quotes.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's at least one other roofing company in town. It doesn't
Oh,
have to
yeah.
be in town, you know.
Yeah, I just.
I think we should have at least 3.
Can you authorize in the motion to get at least one more additional quote, and that all 3 who are quoting show us a sample of the color that they're proposing, so that we get as close as possible to
Mhm.
what the requirements are.
Yeah,
I just think we tell them.
that's a stretch, man.
Yeah,
It's
and,
just-
you know, I mean, I get where the historic commission's coming from, and, that would be kind of, to me, that's a nice to have. You know, if we can do it, great. If not, and the roof needs to be fixed, and we can't do it, then,
That's like the heating system go, and you say, hey, we gotta go back to a, you know, whatever they heated that thing, a
Chimney.
wood stove back in the.
wood stove in the center of the room.
Yeah, I mean,
And I wasn't trying to be stalling this, but historical committees take these near and dear issues to heart.
Oh, they do?
And
well then, perhaps instead of us keep doing this, have the historical committee make a recommendation to us, and go out and get bids and pick out colors and stuff like that. Get it done. Why are we dealing with it then? Right,
The hole's
bring us what you
patched.
want done, and we'll see if we can approve it. I was in favor, I would have been happy to make a motion for Jack's Property Service to perform the work as specified, contingent upon the historical commission selecting the color of the shingle.
So you could move that we accept the Jack's Property bid and allow the Historic District Commission to select from available colors of, let them pick the color.
I know we got the color that we put on the porch. Was that last year?
Hold up, that's right, we redid the porch, right? We redid the roof on that? Well, that's what you go with.
Hmm.
So I don't
So
get
I
what,
don't like the color.
you don't like the color of what? What's on the roof?
This bid is to also do the front porch roof, though.
Well, if we change the color.
No, his bid says strip off existing roof shingles on main roof and front porch roof.
it says that.
It does, but if we change the color.
They would not touch any part of
That
the
bid
steeple
doesn't,
roof.
doesn't, whether the color changes or not. Todd, it doesn't matter what you think, it matters what it says on the bid, right?
And I would think, I forgot about us replacing that porch, if
Yeah,
we
we
have shingles already that we just picked out, somebody picked, it wasn't this board, cause I don't remember picking out
No,
shingle
it
color,
was,
other than for this particular building.
And in your policy, it uses the term, you select the proposal or bid that is most advantageous
And that clearly is advantageous.
to the town. Putting on 7/16ths and doing all of the other things, in my mind, is advantageous.
The 7/16 I
I
would definitely
think it-
recommend.
So I'm looking at this landmark, I'm looking at this Certainty Landmark series, and this thing, there's like 20 colors here. One of them is hunter green,
Okay.
colonial slate, cobblestone gray.
I
There
will
was-
add that I put on a new roof
So what-
recently, and about a third of the colors are available to anybody.
Yeah.
Just FYI.
Yeah, yeah.
Not everything is available right now because of,
Right,
like I was saying,
right.
that supply chain issue.
So are we making a motion, or I thought we're talking before about asking for a few more quotes?
I'm content with the quote that we have in hand, but if the board wants to go out for more, then so be it, I think. And if we are gonna go out for more, I'd throw it back in the historical district's court and say,
Yeah, they're not equipped to, I mean, if we had the committee up and running, you know, for that building, I think that would be a perfectly appropriate move, but they don't, there is no committee.
I just know in the past, they've handled the foundation work, getting bids for that and so forth. That's why I said that.
No, they didn't do that, I think, yeah,
You did?
Todd did that.
He was the liaison for that.
Next time, ask for help, so someone else can help you. have some of your knowledge.
They came from the board with him.
Not that I'm volunteering,
They
but
brought it to
yeah.
our attention. And they've done some, they did some work with one of those longer term restoration guys, and brought us some
We got the full
information on
page.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm good either way.
Yeah, I am too, you know, I mean,
It just seems, you know, this is, and I'll throw this out there, and maybe it's just my own personal belief. It just seems like as of late, the last 3-4 months, 6, 7, 8 meetings, it seems a lot of these subjects, whether it's HVAC systems, we just keep kicking cans down the road. The same things keep coming up and up and up and up, and we never resolve.
but is it because we're not, is
not
it because
sure.
the board's not making a decision, or because we're not getting the information that we need to make a decision?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both.
And we're asking for more, I think.
Yeah. I think every time it comes up, we ask for more information rather than saying specifically, hey, this is up, we need a new roof, okay, bring us back X, Y, Z, and Z. Now somebody comes back with a quote and we're like, well, let's go back to the next one and get some more information.
I agree, and as long as the 2 quotes we have now are in line with our policy, then I think I think you're fine. For me, it comes back down to color and who's,
I throw that back to the they can pick color, I mean, come on.
Well, they said if we wanted to go the original color or the existing color.
Nobody knows what's the original color.
Black.
I don't know
It's
if I
right
can
there.
go
That's
off
black.
of that.
That's black. Looks black.
I would just, you can get a little sample of ICO shingles over at Home Depot, you
No,
can
if
pick one
we're
up.
gonna match what's existing,
But we don't have to match anything. It's replacing everything according to Jack's bid, and that's what I
I
like
think
about it.
I think the provenance of the roof color has been lost already.
Yeah, I would agree.
I wouldn't disagree.
So,
Others it will.
so, I mean, I think I would be okay with the motion matching it to the color of the porch that was replaced recently.
I'm fine with that too. Yeah, I'm just looking to get a new roof.
And
I,
so
can,
I'm-
I really don't care what the color is, to be honest with you. You can put a purple roof on there as far as I'm concerned.
I don't know if I go that far.
I will.
I'm trying to picture.
What's more important, the
I'm
building
short, I can't see the
eroding
roof.
further and further, or getting the problem fixed? So
I
the
agree.
color to me is the last problem that we need to deal with. The bigger issue is keeping a building from eroding even further.
I agree.
Hey, getting on,
Color is trivial at this point.
getting on a
building's in
list
rough
to get
shape.
that roof done.
so would somebody be interested in making a motion to accept the bid from Jack's Property Service, and leaving the color decision to allow the Historic District Commission to pick from available colors of the Certainty Landmark architectural roof shingle?
So
Can-
moved.
Can we,
One second.
That's what's in the bids, that's why I said that. But-
no, I just,
So, okay,
I
so
was
is there
gonna
a
go further,
second?
but I'll.
Well, is there a second, first of all, and then we'll?
I'll second.
Okay, second, okay.
So I guess my question would be, can we get this one and have it here and have the decision made next meeting?
Well, I think
Because,
they-
because waiting is gonna delay things.
Oh, I agree, and I think they could do it in the interim. All of them have
Yeah,
internet
right, yeah.
access. They can go right on their website and pick out a color.
They can work, in fact, we could, you know,
Well, I mean, I just got a new roof too, and, you know,
X is only available.
right,
Only 5 colors available right now.
yeah.
Nothing in green or green mix.
Would you like me to read the last
Mr. Chairman, if the
No.
motion, if the motion on the floor is to accept Jack's property bid and have the Historical District Commission select the color that is already on the porch,
Or
no, that
select-
wasn't the motion.
That
The
wasn't
motion
the
wasn't what's already on the porch.
you want to scratch that part.
I would say select a color,
Select the color that we can do.
an available color suitable to the historical character of the building. I would leave it.
I think that's what the motion in the second was. I would just make a motion to amend to give a time frame as to when the decision has to be made. Because,
Why?
so we don't delay. I mean, if they're gonna go shopping for everything and start checking and it's gonna take 6 weeks,
No, the motion was very specific that they have to choose from available colors of the Certainty Landmark architectural shingle,
There's 5.
because that's what's in the bid.
Yeah, they won't be able to come back and say, well, GAF has
So,
this color.
right, so basically, Jack would be instructed to, consult with the, show the available colors to the Historic District Commission and let them pick the color.
I'll second it.
Yeah,
No,
you
you
did that
did.
already.
You did that
Already did.
We're in the discussion phase.
All right, any other discussion on that? Joe, you look
Nope.
pondering.
No, I'm
Joe's
good.
thinking about fixing it himself.
All right. So just to recap, the motion is to accept the Jack's Property Service bid and allow and instruct him to consult with the Historic District Commission for the color choice amongst what's available in that Certainty Landmark architectural roof shingle in the bid. All right, all in favor of the motion? We have 5-0. Okay.
Just out of curiosity, I know we're past that, and it's not really for discussion, but I was just my own, just a mental note. Do we have to motion where the money comes from? Does it come from, you know, they have their own fund rather than just the general?
Then you can make a second motion.
Yeah, I know that's, yep, so entertain a motion that the funding of the, Union Church Old Town Hall roof projects come from the fund, the Union Church, town, fund.
Yeah, so moved.
All right, Rich moves that. Is there a second on that? Josh seconds. Any discussion? All in favor? I'm pretty sure there's like, you know, $60-something thousand in that account, so
And I know
we'll
that
have
was
to
the
verify
intent.
that.
But I don't know
Yeah.
if it's implied by making,
No, that's a good call. We do need to say where the money's coming from, so that was a good catch, so. Okay. All right, so that takes care of old business. New business, nomination for county budget committee.
You have that opportunity to select the person who's on the ballot or not.
I think we talked about
This
this.
is
a
the
few-
legislative policy
There's
committee.
There's two of them there, the one that's underneath this.
So, there's an official ballot here. Excuse me. A gentleman named Lee Clement, who's a Lewiston, counselor. He's the only one on the ballot. So, so municipal officers shall vote as a board for 2 budget committee members to serve on the Androscoggin County Budget Committee to represent District 3. Municipal officers must vote for at least one candidate who's a municipal official, which, that's what we have on here, official. So, and then we just sign the ballot. So, I don't know this person. Is it a formality? Do you know?
I don't.
So I would entertain a motion to vote for Lee Clement as a member of the Androscoggin County Budget Committee. Anybody want to make that motion, or do we want to just not vote at all?
In the past, we've never voted that I can recall for anybody.
I don't recall getting asked.
No, we've been asked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I actually thought we did do it, but just as a rubber stamp formality, but maybe we didn't. I could be wrong on that.
I remember it coming because every time it's always, oh, who are we gonna nominate?
We've never chosen.
We've never chosen
We've
anyone.
never chosen like to specifically nominate somebody,
Right.
and because I wouldn't do that to my worst enemy. But
I don't even. I
well,
don't.
maybe there's one person I was doing.
That's a good point. It's a write-in block.
Right? Yeah, there is. Oh god.
No, let's not do that.
Yeah. So I don't know how people feeling about.
I'd go either way. Whoever wants to make a motion, I could support it either way. I'm not gonna vote for it.
I mean, to me, I think it's, you know, it's a vote, we should do it. It's asked of us, and
Obviously, there's an interest in one person to want to do it.
Yeah.
Right. It's like being on the budget committee. It's kind of a thankless job, but.
All right. Well, I'll move that we vote for Lee Clement, Lewiston's council member, as a Androscoggin Budget Committee member.
Good. I'll second.
Josh seconds. Okay, any discussion on that? All in favor? All right.
It looks good in
Today's-
Google.
And we find out the guy. Yeah, don't Google it. I can have
Right.
multiple
That's
deniability
why-
right now.
All right,
We're
so we'll
good.
sign that. And then, so the next one, this one's gonna be harder because there's two names, we only get to vote for one.
See, we just opened up Panda. You could have
Right.
presented that one.
This one I know something.
I just go by what's on,
I know. Something.
Getting you
Okay.
primed.
I just go by what's on the agenda. All right, so this one is, official ballot for the Maine Municipal Association's Legislative Policy Committee. That's actually a pretty important committee.
Police chief,
Um,
chief of police.
they essentially work with what are going, from the municipal point of view, you know, what are the most important, you know, either things they want to propose to the legislature or maybe fight in the legislature, you know, depending on what the issue is. So we need to vote for one. One is Matthew Garside, town manager of the town of Poland, and the other is Philip Crowell Jr., city manager, city of Auburn.
I know both. They're both very capable.
So I know Phil. He's the former chief of police in Auburn. He was the assistant city manager under Peter Creighton, who I knew and respected. I served on a nonprofit board with him for a long time. He's a stand-up person and somebody I would trust with my life. I don't, and that's not to say anything negative about the other person. I just don't know him.
Yeah.
But if Phil asked me for, you know, if I could give Phil anything, I would. He's just a stand-up guy, who I respect a great deal.
Just to throw the other side of the coin out there, and again, I completely buy and trust everything you just said about Mr. Crowell. If nobody had said anything to me and I was just looking at two names, I would have probably gone with the town manager from the town of Poland, simply because being from a smaller community, that person might be a little bit more focused on smaller town issues versus city level issues of Auburn. So that would be, again, but I don't know this person. I don't know either one of them, but just using that as a criteria, I would lean towards the town of Poland town manager. But
Both do their diligence.
no, there's no political parties.
Could have tipped the balance for me, you know?
There aren't too many R's in municipal,
What are you trying to say?
no, in the professional ranks.
Oh.
So, so here we vote for, or we can write in. Here we vote for one. So, does anybody want to make them?
And what is the position?
It's the Legislative Policy Committee, so it's
Legislation?
part of the Maine Municipal Association, and they, just like the name says, they help set legislative policy for the MMA with the legislature. Like what's, like what are important things they might want to push for, like, for instance, if there was a revenue sharing bill or a, some sort of a municipality sharing in state tax revenue bill, or could be other things. You're probably a lot closer to this than I am, but
Anything affecting municipal government. They're gonna review, they're gonna make recommendations to the legislature.
And they'll send reports via email and other, especially when there are things that the legislature may be considering in their discussions once they get to a bill, because the title may not also represent the impacts that
Right.
bill has. And they try to understand the impacts and share that information.
And then when you hear things like MMA is against this, MMA is for that, that largely comes from the Legislative Policy Committee, and which is, so it's like a representative group of towns and cities that that MMA uses to inform positions they take with the legislature.
Yes, sir. I would make a motion to vote for Philip Kroll Jr., but I did notice when you were holding up that green sheet of paper, there were profiles on the back, and I don't know if anybody thought it would be
Oh,
relevant.
geez,
to
I'm
read.
sorry. Yeah, no, let me read those. Candidate profile. Matthew Garside has served as manager in the town of Poland for more than 6 years. Prior to that, he served as CEO of an oil and gas firm and was captain in the U.S. Navy. Matthew would like to serve on the LPC because he believes strongly that presenting a united consensus on municipal issues serves everyone's interest, and that the reasoned, well-thought-out approach to lobbying the legislature is a good model and it should be continued. Philip Crowell Jr. has served as city manager in Auburn for the past 2 years. Prior to that, he served as assistant city manager for 2 years and police chief for 12 years. Phil has served on the LPC since 2018. Oh, so he's on the committee now, okay. And would like to continue his service because he believes that home-based advocacy efforts make the LPC successful. Past commitments were honored in the last session and the core areas were protected. He hopes to continue doing his part to protect local governance in the coming session. Okay, thanks for calling that out. I missed that completely. Okay, so did you have?
I'd make a motion that we vote for Philip Kroll Jr.
Okay, is there a second to that?
One second.
Todd seconds. Okay. Any discussion? I'm fine with it. I mean, like I said, I think it's a win-win. I think we'd be fine with either guy, but you know.
And Phil's somebody who I think if you call him up and asked him, and again, I'm not saying anything negative about the other guy, because I don't, but Phil's somebody who would answer the call and spend time talking to you, and would talk about-
Congratulations, you're our new LPC liaison.
You know, if I wasn't here, I'd have a hard time voting against a guy that was a captain in the Navy. I mean, that's an 06. That's not like the Army or what's it called, which is an 03 position.
That's Matthew Garside, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, that takes an outstanding individual to get to that point. That is not an easy task to do.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, so the motion on the floor is, excuse me, for our vote to be for Philip Crowell Jr. to serve on the MMA Legislative Policy Committee. All those in favor of voting for Mr. Crowell? 3. All those opposed? 2. Motion passes.
Can't vote against the Navy guy, man. I
No,
get
no.
Police chief for 12 years, that's worth something too, you know?
That's worse some, but no, I never was on the police force.
All right, that's, so C, 7C. So this is, the discussion of a potential special town meeting to use, to ask for, authorization to expend some ARPA funds. And the, kind of the 3 candidates right now are, for GIS mapping, and then subscription to the service for 2 years. The other bucket would be the IT bucket, so that's the, you know, computers and software and phones needed here. And he was right. There off they go. Computer software and phone system here, and then some IT enhancements at Eureka Center that would allow us to hold our meetings and broadcast from the Eureka Center. And then the third bucket is HVAC systems for town offices, fire, EMS, not Public Works? No, okay. So going back to town meeting, just to frame this up, we definitely heard from the public that they want, that they want a voice in how ARPA funds get spent. I think the concern was that the board, we would just do whatever we felt like doing, and without, who knows what they were concerned about. But I think at the time it was not known that any authorization of expenditure of ARPA funds would require a town meeting vote anyway, right? So we can't. So that's kind of, that portion of it is a moot point. That being said, I still think there's interest in, in the bigger picture where we have kind of a lot of options, like on how to spend the money, like what might be the best way to do it. The way I look at this first group is like, these are kind of like need to do things. And so I think the way that we frame this up is that, of $420-something thousand that we've got in ARPA funds, we're looking at about 40-ish% of it that we feel kind of needs to be applied to more urgent needs. So we're asking for authorization to do that. And then for the other balance of the money, which is available more for probably like, I don't know if I would put the term nice to have, but less urgent, more, subjective type of spending, for that portion, we would do some sort of a, public hearing, public input session, like, okay, we've got this bucket of money, what are some of the things that people think we ought to do with it? So I think it's kind of a modified approach there, and I think, I think it's legitimate for the board to put forward, these things to the town without first having done a blue sky session, so that's what I'm getting at. So, and it's also true that because I'm pretty sure that because that the budget committee will also have to weigh in on this with their recommendation of yes or no. The idea that I've discussed with Mitch is to word these articles as closed articles versus open articles. And basically what that means is we'd be asking yes or no questions. It wouldn't be the amounts couldn't be amended on the floor of the meeting. So for instance, one of the questions might read something like, and I'm making the amount up because this isn't what it is for sure, to see if the town will authorize the select board to expend, up to $80,000 on HVAC equipment for town-owned buildings. Right? So it would be yes or no on the 80,000. It wouldn't be, well, I want to amend that to 85. I want to amend that to 75. It'd be like, no, this is, and we would have good documentation like why it's the number we're asking for. So that's the deal there. So there's a few questions here. One is just thoughts on the special town meeting in general, because we know ideally, it's people reflexively don't always like special town meetings. They just, but the reality of today's world is you can't just, we don't always have the luxury to make decisions once a year, right? So sometimes we gotta go out more than once a year. There's definitely, especially in the case of HVAC, a time issue here. Like we really need to do something before winter. And
It's getting hot in here.
yeah, so questions are about the meeting at all, the timing of the meeting. I think, Mitch would say that, he'd like to see it sooner rather than later. Summer special town meetings can be challenging, but, they're challenging at any time, right? And then another question would be how to ask the questions. Like one school of thought is to just, like those three things that are on the list, they're just all in one question, yes or no. Or another approach would be like three separate questions, kind of for those three buckets that I listed. So that's kind of the conversation to have tonight. I think ideally we would come out of here, if the board thinks a special town meeting is appropriate, that we would try to nail down the timing of that and start getting the word out as soon as possible, and go from there. So I'll just open it up for discussion on thoughts people have or questions or.
So I think we need to have one, and with some of the issues, they need to happen sooner rather than later. And I would say three separate questions. Although the idea of asking one and hoping that they're all approved, kind of, but at the same time, I think it's better policy to ask the separate questions.
Yeah.
And if I were on the other side, that's the way I would expect you to do it. So that's.
Other thoughts?
So the GIS mapping subscription, that's a year?
You want to talk about that one a little bit, Mitch?
Yeah.
presuming that we all have a basic understanding that GIS mapping is the latest,
Mm-hmm.
and it allows for updates on an annual basis. That's the subscription part.
Right.
After we go to the database. That directly is in relationship to the tax billing.
Right.
And the less mistakes you make on your tax billing, and the more accurate you are in terms of assessing the fees for tax billing purposes, the more dollars that come in. And right now, I would say to you that on a grade of 1 to 10, your current mapping system just doesn't cut the mustard. You're probably at a 5, 4 maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And the other issue is by having it digitized, we can put it on the website.
Yep.
It allows for less phone calls coming in to do research. It makes better use of our staff time. And it's updated annually, so we would ask for a 2-year subscription so that it gives time for public to see the benefit of that before it actually shows up under your raise and appropriate the funds for an ongoing
So
sustain.
what are we using today? Sorry.
We have a freebie mapping service at best.
That's what I'm kind of remembering from planning board.
And
It's close.
it doesn't, it,
Close.
for free, it's not bad,
No,
but it was
it's not
never
accurate,
intended to,
yeah.
and it needs to be updated.
That's fine.
It's your database for tax
So this is
purposes.
mostly for just buying into GIS in general for the town?
Yeah.
And then the subscription cost would be what, a year or every 2 years?
We're figuring
about?
it's about a $3,000 subscription, so 2 years is 6, so it's a 10 and 6 for 16,000. I think it's also important to recognize what is the landscape going to look like over the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah.
And that's more work that the planning board,
Right.
code enforcement officer, and realtors are going to be involved with.
And the licensing or the subscription would be accessible by all the folks on the planning board or anyone who?
On the website.
It's on the website.
It's public information
So-
anyway.
So it's just open at that
We're not
point.
looking to
Okay, so
have
there's no
people
li-
charged, so.
There's no licensing involved?
I don't know how many, but most municipals have had this for many years.
Yeah.
No, I
Most
realize, that's why
municipalities,
I
excuse me.
I use it a lot doing title work, and it's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing, I mean, to that point,
It's a great tool.
Yeah.
It's fun, too.
I was pretty surprised at the workload impact to town staff responding to realtor and bank calls about
Right.
property
Yeah,
type
hot
issues.
market,
It's pretty significant.
Right.
And this would take most of that, they would allow them
Yeah.
to say, there's our website, you can go do your own research.
It's a cheap alternative to adding more staff.
Right.
And so, again, it's an investment,
Mhm.
and there's an immediate return on that investment.
So on that, and just full disclosure on that one, when Mitch and I were talking, I mean, I agree that we should definitely do that.
Hmm.
I think it's a little bit of an open question on, does that have the same sense of urgency, and does that need to be part of the special town meeting, or could that wait till April, or should we do that now, knowing that it's kind of in that bucket of, yeah, we really need to do this, and it's not as much of a blue sky thing. It's more of a get your house in order thing. And so-
You also then give the vendor, whichever, the winter,
Time to
to
get it
prepare
together.
it so that next,
so next tax bills we'd be, yeah, that's a great point, actually, yeah.
I think it's great. I think A, B, and C are all warranted. I think I'd like to see, something similar to like this spreadsheet entailing each one of them. And then what other special funds are gonna be needed, whether it's for increased fuel prices, et cetera, that all broken down as far as a request. And then perhaps presented to the board, and we in the budget committee convene, and then, or we can set a date for the meeting per se, but I think there's just, need to get a little bit more information. I don't even know what we're gonna be asking for at this meeting yet to have that.
Yeah, that was, I agree, that was part of what I had asked for as well, like, and I think if we have that for the next meeting, then we can set the specifics of the warrant article questions, and then that way, then Jessica, town clerk, can start doing her thing.
just as a matter of general understanding, because you've had a great deal of deliberation on the HVAC systems, as one
Mhm.
example, and expansion, roughly, you're going to expend, and I'll get you the specifics, but the IT infrastructure improvements are $55,000. Roughly, the replacement electrical upgrading of the HVA systems at Town Hall, Building, Fire EMS, and Extension straight through to Eureka, $75,000. And the GIS, $16,000. So what you end up with is somewhere in the vicinity of about $140,000 out of a ARPA fund of $421,000, which goes back to the chair's commentary that these are timely supply chains concerns, but the bulk of the money, majority of the money, is still subject to the discussions between yourselves as policymakers and the public at large.
I think to Rich's point, it's the, for that
information.
55 and 75 and the 16,000, you know, a little bit more black and white breakdown of
Well, it's-
where those numbers coming from.
Yeah, it's, you know, it's almost 150 grand based on what you just think, but I mean, some of this information just from the last time we have spoken, just on this HVAC bid has changed. I'm assuming this is for both the town hall, it says town hall heating units, I'm assuming this is for both based off this price. But now we've added in hot water heaters, I don't recall that in the past.
That has changed, and because Calvin has,
I haven't had it since we were right in the utility room, and that thing's 1986, and it's just gonna blow. So
Listen, I don't think it's not warranted, I'm just saying there hasn't been any discussion, and this is the first time I've ever seen it.
So I had them add that in as an option, so I mean, that could be taken out or left in.
And then my other concern is, you know, we went out to bid, which is great, but if you look down the line at all three of these proposals, they're different. We're not necessarily comparing apples to apples, so the specifics of the proposal really,
actually.
where is the actual proposal? And
Okay,
So the RFQ went out.
I get the RFQ went out, I'm just saying, like, you know, you got a 224K units and one
Yep.
has a 9K and a 24, I mean, that's quite a bit of difference there.
Yeah.
and therein lies the issue that we have had discussions with, and Calvin mostly with the vendors. If you look at them, and I appreciate what you're saying, the units that are spec'd out, note that a hot water heater has been added, you are correct, but you didn't ask why.
Well, he
Has
just
not-
told me why.
We're gonna save electricity. We heat that 24/7, the hot water right now. There's no need for that, nor do we need a 50-gallon heating system. 18 gallons on a timer will do the job Monday through Fridays that we need to do for what we do here. And so this again becomes an investment in reducing the cost. And by adding additional monies, which are not here, for insulation in the attic, once this is in place, you're now helping keep the heat in and reducing your cost again.
So is this number soup to nuts from the contractors, or is this number with fluff because we're adding insulation?
I haven't added insulation yet. We talked about the insulation today, but these are the contractor's quotes, soup to nuts.
So
All in.
I think, you know, I think this kind of goes back to the earlier conversation, is that we don't have the information we need to move forward on this. And, you know.
And we do have time, it's just that,
There should be a pretty buttoned up, document that says, okay, for GIS, you know, these are the things we're gonna get for it, this is how much it's gonna cost. You know, and the same thing for IT and HV. It can't be, well, this guy said and that guy said, and if we do this and we gotta add that, and,
Right.
you know, it's not ready for prime time yet. And that needs to be buttoned up and ready, by the meeting on the 28th.
it is odd. How did they arrive at 3 different tonnages?
Yeah,
Well, I
that
mean,
was,
because we didn't have it, I can tell you how, it's open to interpretation, how many people are going in a room, how many windows you got, things of that nature, so
Well-
we didn't hire, like, my thought was, get a mechanical contractor and have something spec'd out for each building, then
No.
go to bid.
yeah,
the-
but
Because right now, what we're asking is,
the heat, I don't get,
give us your best.
I thought that's what we were doing.
Yeah,
This is, I'm sorry, but this is nowhere near
No.
where it needs to be.
Then we should have started that at the beginning when we talked, but you.
Mitch, we've been talking about this since the beginning. We talked about having an actual contractor come in and do a analysis of what the need was, and then taking that out to bid.
But in that same conversation, by the end of the conversation, you, as a group, kind of nodded your head and said, if we can put down to each of these individuals and convey to them, it has to be sufficient based on the standards for a building that are out there, heating standards, then you put them together, and this is how it came up. We'll be glad to go back and do that, but you're not gonna get the work done in a timely fashion, and I can't guarantee those prices beyond the next few days. So, and that's okay, we will, I just as soon put out a request for a proposal on mechanical engineering and let that go into that, because it will take you to the fall.
But even with these, we don't have, and maybe it's tough to make comparisons against these proposals because we don't have what their assumptions for like heat load and all that stuff was. Like, so if one vendor is recommending certain equipment and has made a certain estimate of need, and another vendor is requiring suggesting different equipment, but has a completely different heat load calculation, then something's amiss there, right?
May I ask, is this for just the town hall, or is this, I'm assuming it's for both, based on the number? Because if it's for both, that's where really my kind of like triggers stand up on this, as far as how many York 2-ton AC coils, how many York 60,000, are you replacing both of these? And is it just the York in the town hall?
Yeah, and I
'Cause those are
have,
the forced hot air, and I'm assuming there's two of them, right?
yeah, and I have the bids. There are 2 AC units, two heat pumps, each in fire station.
Yeah, I know, but so the fire station's getting the 24 and we're getting the 18 over here? Or the fire stations get, the way I would read that, based on what you said, but I can't extrapolate that off of this, is the fire station's getting a 24 and an 18K, and this building's getting a 40K, one furnace up in the attic, and a one York 2-ton AC coil out back.
Two furnaces and 2 AC units. Two York 2 tons and 2 heating units. 40,000.
For this particular building.
I think what we have is a combination of both. I think what you're looking for is having it broken down as to each building with all of this information.
I think you have to. I think the town's gonna be
Yeah.
expecting
Yeah.
that.
And that's all in the bids. Every bid, the 2 existing heating units and the
Right.
2 existing AC units.
But they couldn't, did they know we were gonna upgrade the installation? That's gonna make a hell of a difference.
Yeah, it will.
Huge.
Well, I mean,
difference.
that's, yes, I agree and disagree, but I mean, that's not really just because of the ambiguity with one's calling for, in your work, 260K, which is 120K of heating for this, I don't know, 1,600 square foot building versus 80K of heating. I mean, most 2,000 square foot houses have 60K, 70K of heating.
What's up there now is 40,000. What's up there now is 40,000.
And I thought that's what we were going with. If we weren't gonna go with, because we mentioned, to your defense, we did talk a couple of different variants, like we could just replace the existing as is, but we're not doing that. We have a 40K, which is the existing, and then we have this guy's proposing a 60K, which is not the existing. And we have all different of arrays, so that the bid wasn't specific to say, bid out 2 40K forced hot air furnaces, attic install.
So the way the RFQ was written was let each vendor determine what the building needs were, and that's just the way it was done. Short of hiring a mechanical engineer.
I get it, but unless it's as is, what you have for AC units or what you have there, it just creates so much ambiguity that a layperson's not gonna be able to look at this and say, well, what are we getting?
That's why I did, but I couldn't just pull this up, because if you just look at the 3 quotes, you have to go pull this stuff out.
So the other question I would raise that's not in here is, like, we've talked about this numerous times, where's the bid for the fire department? Because we know they need to upgrade their panel. That's at least $1,100-$1,200 minimum.
One said you did have to upgrade the panel, and 2 said you didn't, so. There was a sub-feed panel off the back that 2 of them said they could use.
Okay. Did the other one know it was existing, that it was there?
I
No idea.
went through the building,
So at this point,
To me, there's just a lot of ambiguity here. It
we
needs to
will,
be cleaned up.
we will put out a request for
Mm.
a mechanical engineer who's capable of determining, and we're gonna go through that whole process, and you're going to get
You don't have time.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
that's
I-
the concern
you know-
I have. I mean,
Replacing
That's-
I think
on us
I think
for being
that's,
not-
I think if you're replacing the existing stuff here, I don't know if you necessarily need a mechanical engineer there. You're replacing what's been in effect
It's already
for
been-
X amount of years. But when you're adding systems to a building, such as HVAC systems to the fire department, which currently doesn't have HVAC in it, and it's a commercial space, that needs to be looked at appropriately. But if you're replacing apple for apple, a 40K unit with a 40K unit and two new 2-ton units out back, maybe the SEER is a little better now because of the electricity upgrades in these things, that's fine. I don't think there's any harm in that. We're not doing anything different or a different use for, say, in this building, but that building's never had AC.
And if we upgrade the insulation, it's only gonna make it better.
Well, that's.
I
we can-
think that's a marginal,
that's
gonna be a
I agree
marginal
with that.
benefit.
That's-
Well, we're talking probably 3 or 4 inches up there right now.
Yeah,
Well,
I don't,
drops.
do you think that will make a difference in terms of the equipment they spec?
No.
16 inches more insulation is gonna make it easier to heat and easier to cool.
That would make it easier to
Well, you're not gonna get any smaller than a 40,000 anyway.
That would make it easier to cool.
Because the heat comes off that roof.
So how do we salvage this?
Where do you want to, how do you want to proceed? You're not comfortable with what we've provided as a summary.
Well, I guess I'm not
Well,
necessarily not.
it's
I'm
not a
comfortable with the
readable
way it's-
summary.
It's not a readable
It's
summary.
just-
It's just not workable.
Just we gotta figure it out what
So
you
do,
got.
so do we have enough information to fill in all the blanks on splitting them out and comparing apples to apples on the two buildings? Is there enough information in the bids to do that? I mean, I know you're saying it's all in there, but are you able to break that out further and have, whether it be 2 spreadsheets or one that shows town hall?
Separate the buildings.
Separate the buildings.
That's first priority.
Right.
Yeah,
And
and-
then just separate, I mean, you're gonna use some heat pumps and then you're gonna use some regular traditional York units. And where are they going, right? And is that the same as what we have? Have a column there for what we have today on each building. And then I would almost assume that you're gonna have to upgrade the electrical unless the other guy is for sure knows that he doesn't need to do it. Or if the other guy didn't look at it and doesn't realize it.
Two of them said they didn't believe it.
Yeah, and I'd be comfortable with that. And I only
And
say
I'm
that.
fine with that too, I just, especially if
got
you're
some- it's just about
pulling
room.
something out and putting something new in. I'm not expecting a huge change in the load, other than it going down.
Well, the amps on those heat pumps aren't that much, and
No.
it really comes down to if you have panel space, and if they
Yeah.
do have another sub panel out back, they're probably
They're
sufficient.
probably fine.
This
yeah.
particular building is pretty, in my opinion, is pretty cut and dry. You take Todd's insulation, I get it, we can all, and we'll wrap the windows and all that stuff too, but
Yeah,
what I'm
bless
getting
you.
at is if you got a 40-ton up here, Calvin, and you got a 40-ton over there, you should be spec for spec. We want to replace this with a 40-ton. And if a guy says, hey, really, you really should be at a 50-ton base, I don't think he's going to say that. 80 tons for this size building is, I'm
But I
sure-
think that's where there needs to be some
Just
supporting.
calculation.
Well, but also some supporting narrative, like in the report. Like, there should be, let me finish. There should be a report, not a single, table that says, this is what we did, we evaluated, the system, this is what's there now, this is why we feel it needs to be replaced. And then some sort of explanation for any differences amongst what the various contractors are recommending, like contractor A, is recommending these 2 units because of X, Y, Z, or whatever it is, but, just something that lends understanding to what we're looking at here.
And that is in the bids, I just tried to go and pull the stuff out and try to make a little quick cheat sheet.
No.
It is on that.
Yeah, no, I get that, Calvin.
I can clean that up.
I get that. But I mean, you can see that you know quite a bit about this stuff. I'll defer to you on that. But when you're looking at heat pumps in particular, and the heat pumps just singly reside in the fire station, not in this building, 224Ks versus 124 and a 9K is significantly different.
That's what the 2 contractors came up with for the need that they felt was needed. So that was the way the RFQ was written, was to let them determine what was needed. That's why I put it in, so you could see, this guy's saying 2
Right.
24s, this guy's saying a 9 and a 24, and this guy's saying an 18 and a 24, so that
Right.
was.
So
I don't want to use my own personal experience, but I can tell you right now, the first contractor I had in my house sold me 2, wouldn't even touch it. I now have 5 total in my house. Excuse me, 6 total in my house.
Well,
So it's very important to know what your heat loss and your heat calcs are when it comes to the basic first design. In this building where you have 2 2-ton units out back, 2-ton units for a total of 4 tons, and you have 40K up in each attic, that you can say we are replacing. Like, I don't put my house out to bid if I need a new furnace. I say, hey, I need a new 76,000 BTU furnace. Done. It's been working great for 18 years. It's just an old model. Needs to be replaced.
Let me tell you that Calvin did exactly what I thought you wanted to do, so he's following my instructions. And so I obviously had misunderstood, and he attempted to put together the summary, which is what you're working off of. We can break it out, but I want to be clear. You do not want to go the extent of getting a mechanical engineer. You want to replace in kind or the capacities themselves.
Well, we don't have anything in kind in the fire department.
No, and they need to have something in some.
But I'm thinking that you can even do as little as a simple calculation
Yeah.
ourselves. I mean, there's tools on the web that allow you per square foot for whether it be office space or living space or, there's a number of calculators out here, because I built out a lab at one point, and the same thing. I just did a quick calculation of how many bodies we had in the lab, how much equipment we had in the lab, how much heat output, and then I had the guy come in and he gave me a quote for an X number of BTU unit, and I said, yeah, that's pretty close to what I have. So you can get an idea of what you think you probably need based on just freeware on
Yeah.
people like Carrier and these guys do have this that you can use. And if you just use that as a little rule of thumb, you'll see, first of all, the units we have, which are sufficient for here, which I'm assuming they are, but you can at least get a basis for what you're.
Yeah, and each of the bidders, they should be able to provide
They
you
should-
with the
they
assumptions
use-
they made,
they
like
use the same
how they
thing.
came up with that.
Yeah.
You know, like and then you can look at, if you've got two drastically different recommendations, you can look and see if there's something really different in their assumptions and see what
Right.
passes the straight face
Heat pump-
test.
Heat pump heat pump providers are not always engineers. A heat pump
Yeah.
provider can be an electrician.
Hmm.
Okay, it's not the same as if
Somebody's got that.
of a heating contractor in general. I mean, a lot of people
Right.
got into the heat pump business. You need an electrician to, finish it up, and it's not as straightforward in that as that's, I know why I think you're seeing 3 different professionals giving you 3 different answers.
Right.
Um,
It could be.
But the chief would have to be involved. He'd have to know how many people are coming in and out. I mean, one of the things like the chief might say, hey, I hold 3 meetings a week here with 27 people in the lobby.
Right.
That happened particularly. We had somebody in this office handle the Eureka Center, and we got an extra unit because we said we would use this as a cooling station for up to 50 people. Therefore, so I mean, there's so many numbers that have to be accounted for here. But if you're just replacing apples for apples, old equipment for new equipment, that I don't think we need mechanical engineering or designing on, especially if you haven't had an issue with it other than it's outdated itself.
So this is pretty straightforward. So
Yes.
either the fire station getting the heat pump sizing, that's really all there is left is the 2 heat pumps.
I think, in my opinion, I would go with like a HVAC services out of Westbrook, or somebody like a commercial, not a residential guy, as far as what that fire station is, because ceiling heights are in there. I mean, you can drop ceilings, you have big, huge bay doors. I don't even know to what extent they're doing over there, but I don't even know what the square footage is for that matter. You know what I mean?
They came in and measured, the contractors came in. I mean, they're pretty good sized companies, Patriot Mechanical, and that's
Yeah.
what Gorham's and Industrial Park, and
I'm in line with the Patriots and Agility, the ABG one for that 9K, unless it's just to do the chief's office or something.
I think it was specifically it was the other 2 are ducted, actually gonna be ducted into each office and bathroom.
That's,
That one had no ducting, it was just gonna hang on the wall, so it was just gonna go in the chief's office. So that was the difference, which is why we highlighted the one that we came up with. Based,
We
What do
both
you-
agreed, agility, dollars for dollars, parts, labor, warranties, and the equipment. That was in fact good bang for the bucks.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we have behind it some of their assumptions already, so we would be able to pull
Yeah,
that.
my only thing is, I'd pose a question, because some people are gonna pose this, like with the fire station, for example, is this just for cooling?
I think it,
Just replace the heating system.
Right. And then the next question is gonna be, well, I thought we put those heat pumps in for that to be the cooling station.
Yeah, the one of the reasons to break them out is I think we kind of said, well, we'll do the fire station cooling because we can get kind of a package deal and it'll be cheaper and all that other stuff, but that kind of presupposes the question on whether it should even be done at all, or whether it's urgent enough that we need to do it now. I mean, it really, to me, so the only thing that needs to be done now is this building.
So at the time, the chief had believed that that was the cooling center, and then I think Rich pointed out that, in fact, it was the Eureka Center. I guess that changed at some point?
I don't know when it changed, and I'm not saying it did change. All that's ever been, at least on my tenure on this board, was a window unit over in that would sit in the front. They had a pretty decent size, it couldn't have been, I mean, it was running off a wall outlet. So that would sit in the front window and they would exhaust it out to the front window. That's all I've ever seen over there. And maybe they had a window unit in the chief's office, but I don't even remember that. So it would hold that building at, let's say, maybe 78, 80 degrees on a really hot day with the blinds shut. If the blinds are open, you're gonna have a challenge of, that's,
But
so
I
it's
think
never been a cooling station since, it was always Eureka.
Yeah.
So you do not
Well, I take that
anticipate,
back, it was a cooling station, and then when we put those 2 units in there,
That's what you
because
said
we have
last.
you think about it, I think we have 2 36K heat pumps over in there.
Yeah, big job.
So what does that equate to, 6 tons?
couldn't tell you, I'm not the,
They're heat pumps.
Right.
So
Tonnage is tonnage.
can we just get a new sheet or send out the bid and the proposals and let us review them? I mean, it won't mean much to me, I'll be honest, but if it means more to you,
Oh, you mean send out the
send
actual
out what
copies
you,
of the
that way
bids? Yeah.
you have it, and if you have other questions, that's the best way to do it.
Well, I still think we need a more comprehensive summary, and with the fire station and this building broken out separately.
That's how the proposals are done, right?
Yeah. It's just hard to compare apples to apples because they're not apples to apples. That's
Right.
what the spreadsheet
Right.
shows that
Yeah, that just makes it.
one's a 9, one's 224, so it was kind of so you could see, look, this guy's giving a 224, this is a 9 and 24.
So Kelvin, are all the heat pumps ducted? Because
Except
this
for the
one,
first one.
ABG says no.
Well, so one of them's no. The other 2, the ducted one is, goes in the attic area over the office area and is ducted into each office and the restrooms. Both the other 2 companies were ducting those units. The other 2 were just doing a wall-mounted unit out into the main meeting room. There was no need to duct it because it's only doing one room.
Okay.
my problem is, I'm not an HVA person, AC person. I thought we had tried to nail this down, and the package that was put together, I insisted from the beginning of trying to take care of fire department as well as here, because it just made sense if you're out in the marketplace and everything that goes with it. So we will have to pull out from here and try to give you a better explanation. And if you just don't want to do the fire department now, then I'll sever that and we'll just focus on
No,
this.
I don't think we're saying that.
I think it's up to the people if they want to do the fire. I have no problem using, especially these ARPA funds for doing it. I think it's a great
Yeah,
great
It makes
idea.
sense to do it.
I just think I've been to enough of these town meetings in this town. This won't get it done.
No.
This won't get it done. Sorry, it just
Okay.
won't get it done.
And the thing is, we don't need the exact dollar amount for town meeting. What we need is, we need a comfort factor of a number that it's not gonna go over, right? So like here, we might say, to expend an amount not to exceed, I might put like 60,000 on there, to account for unforeseen things that come along, but we're not asking the town to approve a specific bid. That's up to us, right?
That's why you got it, because we figured you'd want to round out, this is your summary, but you need more information.
And that might be enough in terms of crafting the warrant article, and you say, well, we've got, we're still working through the bids. Right now, they range from, 43 to 55, and whatever,
I think based on this, I'd ask for 55 and then roll from there,
Okay, yeah, whatever the
You know,
number
right,
is, right,
yeah.
yeah.
I
So,
mean, Mitch suggests adding 10% anyway.
what I would agree with that.
We should have a number for insulation.
Yeah, well, that's not even in here yet,
I
right?
think-
So,
I think
yeah.
it's something that should be done, that's what I was mentioning to Mitch.
Builders and quality.
But the thing is, you guys have been at town meeting enough. You know how this is gonna work, right? Anticipate the questions that people are gonna ask and answer them in the summary that we're gonna get, right? What are we doing? Why are we doing it? Why this, not that? How much is it gonna cost?
There's at least 3 people I can think of just in a 7-block radius that work in this line of work.
And in all fairness, I'm at a disadvantage unless we had a mechanical engineer or someone who's experienced enough with it to go forward.
No, I know, but I don't think the town, I think we're over playing it on the town. We're just looking for replacement. You know
Okay.
what I mean? I mean, if this system, I don't work in this building other than twice a month. I mean, if the system's been working satisfactory for X amount of years, then so be it. I mean, I would think just a
Everything
simple
I'm told
replacement.
is it hasn't been working well because when you get the summer heat, they can't cool it quick enough
AC
and it
doesn't
makes
work.
it difficult. And in the winter, the reverse is true. They can't keep up with the heating.
But is that because the units are undersized or because they're not working properly?
One unit was completely down. Prior to that, I can't explain because I wasn't here.
Well, that's just it, right? I mean,
assessment part
that's the assessment part. So what you're saying is that if we do have 2 units out back that are 2 tons each, and they're not cooling this place off, then something else is wrong, because 4 tons for this building should be quite a bit. It's only 1,600 square feet.
Not a big
It's not big.
single floor. So,
All right, so are we good to move on from that one? Are we, well,
there were 2 parts to this.
yeah,
Part A was, do you want to designate a time and date? And part B is, let's get a better narrative
yeah.
and understanding.
When-
So what do
when-
people think of,
I was
sorry.
gonna say, when would the board, not the board, but when would the department heads feel comfortable with their numbers? Do they know what number they're gonna be asking for the town? Do they have that figured out yet for as far as gas? Cause this would be the meeting that
You're
we're gonna
talking
have
to
to
the
ask
2
about that.
people who are involved.
What do you,
right here.
wait, what's the gas thing? What's that?
I thought if we were going to a special town meeting that we were gonna have to, because we were gonna be short on our budgets.
No, maybe you weren't here. Yeah, that's a non-issue now.
All right, non-issue, then so be it.
Yeah, that one's a
Never
non-issue.
mind.
I think
Forget what I just
I think
said.
you were not here that week.
Okay.
But the calculation was off a little bit, or in terms of, because it was, correct me if I'm wrong, we were looking at full year, but it's really a partial year, and he's confident he can cover it with what he's got. So
Chief too.
yeah, I think the chief always said that.
Well, he said he was 60% into his budget or something 2 months ago.
Well, as far as I know,
Okay.
there's
Nope,
no,
that's fine.
department heads are not asking for supplemental.
So we're not
money
doing
for-
anything as far as requesting any
As
more
far as-
funds, other than utilizing ARPA funds?
Yes,
Okay,
right,
fair enough. Yep,
right.
Thank you.
At least as of tonight.
till the 28th.
Right. So, so then the question, as Mitch pointed, is like timing of that. Now, I think if we felt like we, and we didn't really get into the IT number, but it's the same thing with the IT number. It needs to be pretty clearly spelled out, like what it's, what we're spending it on, and maybe, that we've got a couple of different, 2 or 3 different bids or whatever, or sources, I would say, so that we're comfortable with the number.
I don't know
timing
about the bids,
of-
but while you were gone, Devin
Yeah,
did give a
Devin.
great presentation of specifically what each individual
Yeah.
category and item was needed.
And I think that, like you said, whatever the informed source is, and I think that's probably gonna be good. So timing. So if we had the numbers that we were all comfortable with, and at least comfortable enough to frame the warrant article questions by our next meeting on the 28th, I think town meeting has to be noticed what is it, at least 10 days in advance or something like that, but, that's the minimum. You typically be a lot more than that. So what are people thinking in terms of, for instance, having a special town meeting second or third week of August versus, for instance, waiting till, after Labor Day? The longer we wait, the tougher it might be to get the work done as soon as we need to get it done. But then on the other hand, there'll be a little bit of hue and cry about doing a special town meeting in the summer.
We don't have much choice.
Yeah.
I
I'd say
think
sooner.
second week of August, I
Yeah.
think we get to the third week and we're gonna get so many people on vacation, they're gonna be towards Labor Day, closer to Labor Day.
Right.
Then if we get too close to Labor Day, we might as well wait till the second week of September.
The third Saturday is the 21st, and that's the week before school starts.
And it doesn't have to be a Saturday. Special town meeting could be on a weeknight as well.
Maybe it's a good time to try that.
I mean, even if we voted on it next month or next week, is if contingent upon them getting, my guess is the work, you're not gonna make it in time for the ACs to be any, the real trick here is getting the heating
Yes,
system in
yes.
before October, November.
Right.
So even if you push it into September, when people are back from vacation and kids are back in school and people have a little bit more time on
But
their hands, it might be
It
better
would be a
off.
little tougher though, wouldn't it, to get the contractors though at that point for heating systems?
Because aren't the bids like to put in by the end of
If it's
this
in
month?
September, it's
Need
not,
to
I mean,
get
they're
them in
just, they're probably just. as
There's a
looking to help
time
with
limit on these numbers right now.
I don't think those guys were, there's never a
Well,
good time.
I think one thing that even if the town for some reason said no to the ARPA funds for the HVAC,
Yeah.
we have to replace the heat
Oh,
units
oh, yeah,
anyway.
we have to go
So
and
we
do
would,
that.
we would have to tap into the municipal capital account and do that. So part of me says that we should go ahead and, once we have a number and a contractor, book the work. And then we'll either pay for it out of capital or we'll have approval to use ARPA funds.
Yeah, that's another way to do it.
And I have the different numbers for this.
What was the, if the work is already scheduled to be performed with the ARPA funds,
I
is that,
I don't know. I don't think that's an issue.
okay.
But I don't know.
I don't know anything about ARPA.
Looking, the ARPA restrictions vacillate.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure, it's like anything, I get it.
For,
It's a
and,
good way to
and,
describe it.
yeah, but, if you normally meet the second and the fourth Tuesday of each month, so that's the 9th and the 23rd. The question is,
Of September?
of
August.
Oh, August.
if you don't want to do it at all in August, then yes, then flip into September, but time is of the essence.
I don't. These days,
Dan, if you do.
yeah, and I don't know if I lean towards August and just at least getting it out there and getting the question asked.
I think it has to happen sooner rather than later. I think it's more appropriate.
So you either give up the 9th, which is a regular meeting night, or you can do it on either the 16th, which is the following Tuesday, or push it to a Saturday or any other day in that week.
So let's talk. Let's as far as date, one factor may be what kind of turnout we might expect, because is this something we think we can do at the Eureka Center, or do we feel like we need to get the cafeteria or even the gym at the school, or what are we?
I was thinking the AMVets or the Eureka Center. I didn't think I mean, the last time we had a special town meeting, I don't know, under 30 showed up.
I think we could do it at the
We
Eureka.
did it at the Eureka Center, I believe.
Okay, all right. I'm good with that. I just want to. I just want to put it out there for the board to find a consensus on.
Yeah, that's just, I'm trying to think what the heck the topics were. I think it was something to do with the roads, if my memory serves me right.
It was a culvert,
It was a culvert right up
Yeah.
on Old Auburn Powell Road.
yeah.
Yeah, that was a special town meeting we had to do that for.
Yeah, and, didn't you moderate it? Yeah,
Oh yeah.
it was at the Eureka Center.
Yep. Yep.
They were talking
Okay.
probably 4 years ago, maybe.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so it sounds like we're Eureka Center, so we have a lot more flexibility on timing if we're gonna do it at the Eureka Center. What do people think of a weeknight versus a Saturday? You know, we're in August, so that might change the thinking on weeknight versus Saturday versus April.
I think trying the week out would be interesting to
Yeah.
see, you know, what we do get, especially in August.
I
You're
I
probably
would-
not gonna get
yeah.
the turnout on a Saturday that you will on
Yeah,
a
you'd be-
weeknight.
Well, I think we did do that one on a weeknight, and I wanna say the time frame was around, it was summertime, if my
Yeah.
memory serves me right.
Yeah,
We got about 30 people, and I think it was a Thursday night, if my memory.
this might pull out more.
Might have been a Tuesday, it might have been one of our actual, we might have held our meeting right after there.
Mm.
Oh, yeah, we might have. So,
I would be in favor during the week.
yeah, well, so I don't have my calendar.
Well,
The ninth is that Tuesday.
I think that might be quick in terms of for the noticing require, if we don't vote until the
Yeah, 10
28th on the questions.
10 days would be the 28th.
What about, I would almost lean towards the week, that
the
week
15th?
between, yeah, that, in that week, the week in between our
that's your
regular
third week in
meetings.
August, it's
Yeah.
between your regular meetings.
Yeah.
It gives
What's
you
that Tuesday, the 16th?
16th.
Yeah. Yeah, good. That would be fine for me. And that week is good too, so.
That's just my crazy week, but that's fine. As long as we do it at
Yeah.
night.
Yeah, nighttime is good, actually it's better than the weekend.
All right.
You're talking about starting at like 6, not earlier, right?
Yeah, no, it'll be an evening thing, yeah, 6 or 6:30.
Yeah, regular, yeah.
So,
On the 16th?
yeah.
No, I'm sorry, I'm in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes, on the
Tuesday,
16th.
the 16th.
16.
Because that,
I'm up in the air whether or not I'm here that week or the next week, so.
okay.
Either way,
And for that, you know, it's not even critical that any board members be there,
Right.
right? Because it's a town meeting, so we need a moderator. You know, it becomes Jessica's show once we pick a date. I think our responsibility is to inform, make sure the public is informed about what we're doing.
My only thing is, this is just me, we need all the criteria, and we need to give the budget committee ample time to look it
Well,
over.
that's true. The budget committee has to weigh in.
Because if we go there without the bad.
No, that's a good point. That's a good call out.
So I don't know what's an appropriate,
Well,
we almost need the information, send it over to the chair of the budget, send it over to Milt, shoot it up the flagpole, and say, see what you guys formulate, and then.
well,
let's-
the budget committee only responds and reviews, warrant article that we send them for consideration, right? So we would have to come up with our
Right,
numbers first.
right.
And so then we would send them, they would need, what our, proposal is and what, their recommendation would be either yes or no. It wouldn't be an alternate amount.
Correct, because
So,
it's right.
To be a closed warrant article. So if we were able to finalize the warrant, articles on the 28th.
26th.
Tuesday's the 26th?
Yeah.
I don't know where I came up with the 28th, but,
San
Claire's
Francisco.
birthday, that's why. 26th, then the budget committee would meet, they'd have to meet like either later that,
Right. we
later
just
that
can't
week or the
dictate-
week
we just
after.
can't dictate their schedule when they're, right?
No, but we give them a deadline.
Okay.
So we need to have, you have until whatever date to give us your recommendation. I mean, we give them a heads up now, I think that,
Exactly,
You know,
give a
that-
forewarning.
yeah,
As chair to chair, say, look, this is coming down the pike, why don't you tentatively plan a meeting for review?
yeah,
We'll get it to you by the end of the week on the 29th.
yeah. I can send something to Milt so he can get his
Maybe no.
committee ready.
Show up on the 27th or 26th,
Yeah.
whatever day that is. We can powwow at Lewis.
Yeah, I can, I can tell them that we expect to be, or that we hope to finalize the, questions on the 26th, and then if they want to, attend that meeting and get the full context of the discussion, then that might be a good idea.
And Mitch, how long, if we vote on that Tuesday, you can have the questions over to him by Wednesday evening? And then you give them until the following Tuesday, which is the 2nd. And then on the following Wednesday, which is the 3rd, you can post your notice, right?
Yeah, and, well, we could post the notice before the budget committee
Yeah.
meets. We don't have to wait for
Well-
that. But I mean, really, some of these questions are for Jessica, in terms of, because she doesn't have any ballots to print, but we do need to, print the actual warrant and post that and get it online and,
And making copies of the business is no big deal.
yeah.
But I do agree, if in fact you invite the budget committee on the 26th, a whole lot of things are gonna happen. They'll get the final action by the next day. And hopefully they'll have a meeting already set up where they can, unless they've provided a joint meeting where they can legally act as well that same night with you folks.
Yeah, they can have their own meeting. Yeah.
But getting it out on, if you will, the following week of August 1st through the 5th, still gives you 9 days from the budget committee before the town meeting itself. But keeping it totally open and pushing the information out as soon as the 26th becomes an effective way to deal with that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And I liked your idea of getting hold of the chair of the budget committee, even before the 26th, saying, okay, last night's select board meeting, this is where we're at, what we're trying to do.
Yep.
They must have an inkling anyway, so. They must have an idea what's going on.
Some of those budget committee members are some of our biggest viewers,
Mm,
so
yes.
they probably do know.
Mhm.
Okay. I'll send
So,
a note to Milt tomorrow.
detailed summary report for information. Have it ready for the 26th. Have language that may also be appropriate. And you folks have to decide whether you're gonna separate them or lump them into one.
Oh, let's talk about that. You expressed separate. I
I
would
think
I would tend
separate.
to agree with that.
The idea of one is if you have one that's controversial, you're gonna vote down the other two, and
Yeah.
I don't think that's appropriate
I
here.
agree. I don't think it should be lumped up. I think all
Okay.
three of them should stand on a like.
Anybody disagree with that?
No,
Okay, three
I
separate
think
questions.
definitely.
Yeah.
It makes it easier to talk about,
Yeah.
and get skewed.
Because I don't know, I never know. Could you change that? Like, I'll make a motion to accept the GIS in town hall.
No,
You couldn't
no.
change that motion, right,
No.
to that?
No.
Yeah, so you almost have to put them in three.
And it's an up or down.
Yeah.
I don't say we put them in four.
No,
That's
maybe.
just me.
What's that now?
I would put them in four. I would put the town on its own leg, the fire department on its own leg, the GIS and the IT on its own leg.
Can we separate the bids for the town office and the fire? They're separate, then I would agree. I thought they were one, so I would agree then 4
All
questions.
right, 4 questions. Okay. Anybody disagree with that?
Nope.
No,
And
not
that
at
makes
all.
the spreadsheet easier too.
Makes it a lot easier.
All right, I want to be clear on this. Repeat the 4 question topics, just the
Okay.
topics.
Top
Yes.
GIS mapping. IT
Infrastructure.
in IT infrastructure, right? HVAC town office, HVAC fire department. Or maybe it's just, yeah, it's all
Yeah,
HVAC.
yeah, yeah.
4 questions.
Yeah. That will work.
Real quick, just in regards to the IT on the Eureka, some of that, there was a computer that was in, so how that, we're talking hard drives or something, somebody's computer was gone, or,
I think you were doing
Well,
that
was that all-
anyways.
is that lumped up into that?
It all into the IT.
And can Calvin cut down the tree?
We're actually doing an idea that someone else had, and I presume Calvin's had a chance to look at it, I don't know. But instead of cutting a tree down, as long as we can create a tunnel
Yeah,
to shoot through,
I think I had mentioned, like,
shoot
can you
them.
just do low or something like that?
because it,
Just limb them.
that's it, limb them up to
Yeah.
that point. And we heard that the air fiber system is forgiving in terms of some obstacles.
Yeah, I'm
So
sure.
why take the trees down when you can?
Yeah.
That's what I meant, but yeah.
Yeah, like, one of my questions was in the past, when we're close to buildings, like sometimes Calvin, even with roads, we would specifically use a tree cutting company rather than Public Works, and I just wanted to allot money for it
Okay,
in case Public Works didn't feel comfortable chopping a tree down next to the town hall.
you'll have to advise me of what you want to do.
I'd have to know where they want to,
Right.
I'd have to meet with,
Okay.
Devin, see exactly what he came up with on where the equipment would be, and where that line of sight would be.
Do we wanna add an insulation line to the HVAC to improve the insulation?
I think.
Well, I think that's part of the plan anyway, I
You
thought.
probably got more insulation in your old house than this here.
Maybe.
I've been up there, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about that should be added to the summary and,
Yeah,
you know, so that,
yeah, so we need.
okay, what's the
bids
full
on it.
story?
Bids,
Need-
we'll get 3 bids on that, yeah.
Yeah.
New windows, what else are we doing?
I know, it's like, at some point, we gotta stop adding shit, you know?
Oh, that's only gonna help. There's nothing wrong with it.
So are we tentatively agreed for the week of August 15th? You haven't told me if it's a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Tuesday, the 16th.
Tuesday, the 16th
Yeah.
is what everyone wants?
That sounds good.
6 o'clock, Eureka Center.
Can that be in the form of a motion, just so that I can point back to it, saying that it was a motion made at this meeting to follow the procedures of setting up a special town meeting on the 16th?
Do we need to make sure that the Eureka Center, I mean, assuming it's available, but.
We can make it available.
So moved, which is,
Second.
We'll kick the Girl Scouts out, no problem.
they can use the town hall.
I'll buy a few extra boxes of cookies next year.
Nah, I already did.
All right, all in
6
favor of the
p.m.
motion? Okay, yeah.
And I think you said 6 PM?
6 PM, the 16th, Eureka Center. The question in my mind now is, because this is all kind of, this timing is all contingent on being able to
Produce that information.
finalize everything at our next meeting on the 26th.
Mm-hmm.
So are we confident we can do that? Because then, if we are, then I want to start publicizing the special town meeting as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And we should,
If it helps, I'll stay on that.
Just the HVAC breakdown is really.
Maybe you should help design the system.
Yeah, I offered like 3 meetings ago that I told you guys I had resources, and you guys all said, we got it, so.
So,
I'm out.
Said that.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to anticipate like, questions that folks are gonna ask, you know, I mean, as crazy as my idea was about going low on the tree line, if we get a quote, make sure that whatever we do, we get a quote for whatever number of trees need to be removed, I guess. As well as, you know, just to cover the, well, you know, I tried that and it doesn't work 10 feet off the ground for a number of reasons, like whatever. Okay, but that could be a question.
A contingency.
Yeah, the contingency plan on that, just I'm thinking the money part of it, you know,
well,
why.
so that would be something to have an idea of by the time we meet on the 26th.
Exactly, right, right. And then obviously, we talked about extensively HVAC breakout, have that just laid out. I think GIS mapping, you've got a cost, right? So
Yes.
that's
But I want to come back
That's a
to the
pretty
IT and the
straightforward-
infrastructure.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't we just simply add into that component the amounts that are necessary.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's what I would expect.
Unexpended funds go back to the,
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just
RPA.
looking for an authorization up to. We're not looking,
Yeah.
we don't want to put like the exact number out.
No, but just make sure we have enough in there in
Right,
case.
right.
And,
So, you know,
and Devin did a good job of breaking it down, I
Yeah.
thought, last time.
Yeah, I thought it was great, yeah.
Yes,
So-
he did.
So
do a
I don't,
wonderful
I,
job.
I
That
think
one's
the
good.
work needs
That
to be
one's
done
content.
on the HVAC.
Yeah.
But I think Calvin understands what you're looking for and can do that. He's got all the information.
Yeah.
So I,
Yeah, it sounds like it just needs to be broken out a different
Calvin.
way, that's
If
it.
you need help, you can call.
Yeah.
I'll take care of it.
so
But,
I think by the next meeting we'll be all set.
Yeah, but I do agree with, like, we were talking earlier about maybe adding 10% as,
Oh,
why
yeah.
not- Why not throw 20 or
Well,
25?
yeah, I mean, I think we
You
should
know what I
have a,
Because the money's all going back into the ARPA account anyways if we don't
And
use
then with
it.
the price of everything
Right.
going up so quickly,
Yeah, I agree.
It's
I agree.
prudent to do
yeah,
that.
so that's why I think as long as we have, you know, reasonably good ballpark figures, and then tack some percentage on top of that, and the questions are worded, you know, authorize the board to utilize ARPA funds up to a certain amount for this purpose,
Yeah.
then we're covered.
Yeah, it gives you flexibility.
It-
You might want new thermostats. Those look a little outdated.
Do we have enough data on the ARPA rules and regulations, even though they're a little lucid, that we can counter any questions? that
Yeah,
come up on ARPA?
I will
Go,
put together like a little PowerPoint slide thing on ARPA and like what it is, what you can do with it, what you can't do with it, and then that's something we could probably put it on the website and hopefully answer some questions ahead of time, or even have it as a thing to use at the meeting. We could do that because it's not, because they've loosened the restrictions so much, it's not as complicated as it was. But there were probably some things that people would ask, well, why can't we just, you know, offset the operating budget with it, or why can't we just rebate taxpayers? There are things that are expressly spelled out that you cannot do, and getting that information out there would just head all those questions off at the pass. So,
All of them?
well,
You'll never get them all out.
I
Good
stand
enough.
corrected. So, all right. Do you have what you need on that?
I hope so.
Yeah, right. Okay. Moving on, 7D was a BYOB application,
Yes,
and this was at the AMVets for a wedding, is that right?
yes,
Oh, good.
should be right there.
Yep.
I also have the 7E now, which is the LRAP report, which is real easy.
Okay. I would entertain a motion to approve the application for a BYO permit for April Stone and Joseph Jakes.
So moved.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Do you need a second?
Oh, did I not get a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Rich seconds, thanks.
Thank you.
Any discussion? All in favor? Okay. Party on.
I always want to know how people know to get that permit. Like, most people would just have the party.
Well, if they've hired a bartender,
Is that what it
the
is?
bartender will.
So that's what it is.
Yeah.
When we rented the Eureka Center, there was a note on the application.
Yeah.
Oh, I get
So-
that, because you're renting a, like.
Well,
if you have it at
AMVets
your
maybe,
house.
it might be-
probably what
AMVets
they
maybe
do.
telling them, hey, if you're gonna do this event here, you gotta have this license. Okay, and so 7E LRAP,
Yes, each year you receive money for local roads improvements, and they then look for a report as to what you've spent that money on and potentially what you're gonna be doing in the future. And I believe in the pile, there is an LRAP
Problem now.
form, and Calvin filled it out, completed it, and we have more than done I've got it right here. We've come up with 3 items for which LRAP was utilized. Beaver Woods Road, $44,000. Harley Woods Road, $40,200, and Puritan Lane at $36,000. Our LRAP funds that came in were $55,024, so we've more than exceeded, and that's okay. So what we need to do is have you approve the LRAP report for FY 2022, and we'll have two of you, the chair and one other person, sign off on it.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Rich seconds, all in favor? All unanimous, okay. I love this, you know, we plow the state roads, they don't give us enough money to do it, but then we have to justify that we spent the little money they did give us on roads.
Yeah, accountability comes in all sizes.
Plowing
Yeah.
the state roads costs more than that, correct?
Why?
Okay, guess I should slow down here. All right, consent agenda, I would entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Joe seconds. All in favor? Okay. Upcoming meetings, our next regular meeting is July 26th,
Yes.
Tuesday, 6:30 here at the town office. And at this point, I will move us into executive session pursuant to MRSA 4056A, discussion of personnel matters relating to the town manager search. Is there a second on that?
I'll second that.
Joe seconds.
Do that.
All in favor? Okay, we are in executive session.
I'm sorry, I was